so they use the guard hair from the porcupines to make these, what they call it, wapeisha. And it's also, they call it a porcupine roach. And then the smaller hair, the blue that I have on here, is the dyed colors. They dye them, but it's the hair from white-tailed deer. And they have them on here. And so that's what we wear on our headdress. Different tribes use different styles for various reasons, maybe different types of war societies and such. And then everything that has beads on it, all of my moccasins, my cuffs, everything, my vest, the leggings, wraps here, it was all beaded by a good friend of our family. She's from the Oglala Lakota Nation, and she's from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And her family is a family of beadwork designers, and just does all types of beadwork. Her name is Lisa Little Iron. And the Little Irons, their family is really well known for all of their beadwork stylings. And there's 2 elk that I have on here, and an elk in the back, and an elk that I have. And so the elk is a very strong symbol for many indigenous cultures, but specifically for flute players. And so the elk is the carrier of love medicine. He's the one that has a whistle, and the elk carries the medicine for love in the Lakota way. And so Lisa is from the Lakota Nation, and she asked if she wanted to put that design there of the elk. And then also there's 2 elk. There's one that has his mouth open, and then there's another elk that's just looking cool. And the one that has his mouth open, that's the one that represents the flute player. He's doing the call. And so elk medicine is love medicine, and the flute was used in the traditional way of courting. And so a lot of the flute players have the elk tracks on their regalia, or they have the elk on there as well. And then this other elk here that's just standing proud, this elk represents my father's people, our traditional homeland from Apache Way up into the White Mountains. That's where you can find even world record size elk out in that country. And so that's what I have represented here. And then the color blue, it comes from a small blue stone, turquoise stone, that was given to me when I was about 10 years old. I went back with my father and my brother, and we went through a ceremonial way where we received our protection stone. And then you carry that stone with you through the rest of your life. And as you become an adult, you still even use that traditional stone for blessings, for healings. And even when my children, their first day of school, they line up, there's Manaya, there's Naichi, there's Natanis, and there's Mia. And they all line up there, and I have the stone, and I say a prayer for them. May you be a kind person. May you help anybody that may look lost, and may you be a good individual and have a good heart. And so I say a little prayer for them, and I bless them with that traditional stone. And so we still use those traditional stones that are given to us at a young age when you become parents. And so that's the color that stone is. I used that stone, and I went through all the beads when I was looking for beads with Lisa. And I went through those beads, and I stopped right there at this color of these beads. And so that's what it represents, is that turquoise, that blue stone that was given to me. And then on your feet, you see it represents those very sure-footed, very confident beings of those mountain goats, or high up into the mountains. They're just sure-footed. So they're probably, with so much confidence, they're so high up, and they're just at the edge of a cliff, but they just will hop real fast all over the place. And so a lot of the dancers, they started to use that energy, and they put it around their legs to hopefully have the same feeling, the same confidence, and the same sure-footedness as these beings. And so that's the reason why a lot of the dancers, fancy war dancers, wear this on their legs. And as Jeremy mentioned, those bells has that rhythm and timing, oftentimes for judges to hear your feet as well. So that's a little bit about the regalia that I wear. Everything from the traditional colors, the designs, it all tells a story of that particular individual. And so I'm going to go through this dance now. This is a dance known as the hoop dance. Apache, you say "bonse," "bonse." It means spinning or changing. There's no word that just means circle. And so this is bonse. It actually means life. All of life is in constant motion. Everything moves in cycles. And so this hoop represents the seasons from the eastern direction, the eastern doorway. And then we move springtime, summertime, fall, winter. And then that ice, that snow begins to melt. And then the small seeds start to blossom and we're back into springtime. We face the eastern doorway in the Apache way with your palms out. You receive the blessing of the Creator. And then you go on your day and the sun goes up to the high part of the daytime, sets in the western doorway, the singing lights and the wisdom of Grandmother Moon comes out. And then you find yourself facing to the east again, receiving a new blessing of a new day. All of life moves in that cycle. And so the hoop, the circle, bonse, it represents life, represents all those changing ways. And so I'll be going through these hoops, creating different designs, different formations of life. And they say this dance comes from the Taos Pueblo people of New Mexico that also started off, as I mentioned, there's those two styles of dancing. It started off as a traditional, more of a ceremonial way. And it was a dance that was done to provide healing, to provide balance for a sick individual. And they used willow saplings to make a hoop. And individual that lived within the area from the Jemez Pueblo Nation, the neighboring tribe of the Jemez Pueblo people, his name was Tony Whitecloud. And he was really instrumental, Tony Whitecloud, in bringing this dance to what we see today. And Tony Whitecloud, if you even have time just to look up his name, Tony Whitecloud, really unique dancer, a unique individual. He was able to take this style from a ceremonial way and bring it into a social arena. And so he took those hoops that they would use and he created this style of dance that we see today. And he used different songs that weren't ceremonial songs. There were vocables and there were songs that were social songs. And so when I say vocables, it's kind of like it still conveys like an energy, a good feeling. But the way that we would know it in this modern day is if I were to say fa la 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 la, like what are the words in that song? I don't know. But when do we sing that song? You know when you sing that song, and if you close your eyes and if you heard that sound, that might bring back memories. It might bring back times of being with your family. But those are vocables, but they still convey that energy. And so that's the same thing with a lot of the different songs that were sung for this way. They're not ceremonial songs, but they're used with vocables, and they're used in a repetitive type of a form that are many times heard over and over, and they bring forth that good medicine, that good energy. And so Tony Whitecloud was that one that brought this dance to what we see today. And in time, they created an honoring special a memorial for him. It was called the Tony Whitecloud Memorial Hoop Dance Contest. And in time, that became known as the World Championship Hoop Dance Contest. And that's the one that I was speaking of that's coming up next week. So he was the one that started off this style of dancing, and or the form that you see today, but it has its roots way back as a way of healing, in more of a healing ceremonial way. Hope you enjoy the style of dancing. Once again, I'll be going through these styles, going through these hoops, creating different forms. Our brothers, sisters, you might see the eagle, the plant people, the world. Just basically a way to say, thank you for life.